What's poppin', y'all? This is the last thing that I thought I was ever gonna see from this beef, which is Drake getting done like damn near Meek Mill got done by Kendrick Lamar. This all started when, not the beef, but when Drake dropped Family Matters, it was a big deal. Really great track, still a great track, really great music video. You could tell he put a lot of time into it, not just from the writing, but also the scenes that he wanted depicted in the music video, the logistics, getting the van, all this other stuff that it was clear, whoa, this was a good song. And it was also apparent that this was the song that Drake had been teasing as his red button. There's no way it was The Heart Part 6, and I don't think it's some other track that he magically has laying around right now that he didn't have before. But what happened was, immediately after that, Kendrick Lamar dropped. I don't even think it was half an hour after Family Matters that Meet the Grams drops first. This caused a crazy wave because in the track, we thought it was exposed that Drake had a secret daughter that he was hiding, which would have been one of the craziest bombshells since the whole Pusha T thing. But we didn't get that. And it kind of aged poorly now, looking back at it, especially if this doesn't end up being true, because that would have been one of the craziest tracks of this whole beef. I think it still had that impact, but it's like, whoa, he just got exposed for having a daughter, and this whole drama around it, and people started looking into whether or not Drake had a daughter. It dominated the mind share and pulled people away from Family Matters for a bit. So that's that day, or that night, really. Then the next morning, Kendrick Lamar literally goes back to back and drops Not Like Us. And Not Like Us, obvious banger. Just charts. He's dissing Drake outright. It's super forward. Most of these tracks have been forward by Kendrick Lamar and Drake. I would say more so by Kendrick Lamar directly, because all he's talking about is Drake, really. Drake, on the other hand, is talking about Kendrick Lamar and a bunch of other people because this guy's just taking on everyone. High degree of respect for that. He could have just tossed a lot of these, I wouldn't call them bums, but in this scenario, it's like, hey, we're title contenders, and you guys are like number 15. You're not even ranked in our weight class. So stay over there while we do our thing. And some people are veterans. You got Rick Ross coming out. It's like, yo, what are you doing? This is like Mike Tyson coming out to fight, not Jake Paul, but let's just say some heavyweight right now. Just doesn't make sense. But that's back-to-back songs. Not Like Us is a banger, which it's looking like it's going to do the back-to-back. And on top of that, the biggest thing that Drake has always had above all of these other artists is, chart success. And his fans love to talk about this the most. His stands are like, man, they're not doing numbers. And then when they do numbers, it's, it's because they talked about Drake. It's like, all right, man, so they just can't win, huh? This song, it debuts at number 1. Not Like Us. And it increasingly has more streams. So the first day, it has a ton of streams. It almost breaks the Drake record, I think, on the second day, which is Girls Want Girls. And it was the rap record. It was definitely not the overall record. So the second day, the third day, I believe, is when it actually breaks the record for biggest streaming day for a rap song. And it did 12.8 million. So on the third track, or not the third track, on the third day, it goes crazier than all of that. During this time, a lot of people are trying to expose Meet the Grams cover art. Not Like Us is just ramping up over and over and over again. It ended up going number 1. It's for this week. The early predictions were number 1, but it's so ahead of the second song, which was $1 Million Baby. But on top of that, number 1 was Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us. And then number 3 was Euphoria. And then number 6 was Like That. So that's 3 Drake diss songs in the top 10. And then number 12 was Meet the Grams. So Kendrick had 4 in the top 15, and Family Matters, which was hit track, supposed to be number 7. These were the pretty much the final Hot 100 predictions that is going to show up on, I believe, this Tuesday. It should be, unless I'm mistaken, but I don't think so. It's the data from May 3rd to May 9th. Now there's data for this week though, which changes things up a bit, although disappointingly, not for Kendrick, but for Drake, which is Post Malone and Morgan Wallen. These guys, they shot up to number 1. I wouldn't say they juiced this, but this song, we saw this coming from a mile away. It was bound to happen. Post Malone fits perfectly in this genre. He's got the look for it. He's got the sound for it. It was only a matter of time. Kendrick Lamar, though, is still convincingly at number 2. So he would have been number 1 had this song not dropped. And then we still got Like That in the top 10. So 2 Drake diss tracks in the top 10. by Kendrick Lamar. And then we've got Euphoria still at number 11. Meet the Grams, it kind of fell. But what's the most interesting thing about all of this? In the top 15, there is no Drake. And not even Family Matters, which is top 3 tracks of the entire beef. Regardless, you could even say top 2. If you're a Drake fan and you say the best one, am I willing to give it to you? That's the question. No Diddy. Pause. I would say, okay, I could understand where you're coming from. But this was utter domination in the sense that a lot of people don't even, I wouldn't say they don't remember, but the Heart Part 6 is kind of an afterthought to Not Like Us. The Heart Part 6 was a great song, but Kendrick didn't even drop a response. And I don't think it needed a response because Drake was more so talking to the audience and the people than Kendrick on that track. But Not Like Us is just so up. It's kind of like, do you guys recall what the response by Meek Mill was to Drake's back-to-back? I know he responded eventually, but I don't even remember the title of the song or the name of the song. I don't really remember. Was it Wanna Know? I think it was Wanna Know. But we don't remember that song. It's kind of erased from our memory because of the total dominance of back-to-back. And that seems to be what Not Like Us is. And then you had Meek Mill all over on social media tweeting and stuff. And Drake, just let the music speak for itself. That's the case with Kendrick Lamar right here. This is not just a West Coast track. This track is going crazy. I see it staying on the top 10 for a very long time. It's going to be weeks and weeks, maybe even months. And I don't know if Drake is not comfortable with that, but he's kind of getting done like Meek Mill. Sure, Drake is not a fool like Meek Mill has demonstrated himself to be. Drake hasn't, well, Meek Mill was kind of dropping some good music at that time too after that. Drake is getting made fun of a bit by certain companies, but I wouldn't say Drake is the butt of every joke. It's more so that there's mystery around Kendrick Lamar and Drake, and people are trying to solve the mystery. For anyone that's saying this is going to have long-term impact on Drake's career negatively, no. Perhaps legacy and perhaps conversation within people that really, really care about rap and hip-hop, but a lot of people whose rap isn't their main genre and their favorite rapper is Drake, because that is a lot of people, they think Drake still won, if I'm not mistaken. I do believe that some Drake stans that are mainly in hip-hop, they're like, damn, this is looking like an L right now. Time has cooled a little bit. Cooler heads prevail. And they're like, okay, yeah, we see what's going on here. Some are still trying to cope. But in the grand scheme of things, the major change to career and legacy will be Kendrick Lamar. He's going to benefit from this to, I believe, a level that's unprecedented. This is the greatest beef we've ever seen in hip-hop. And nobody really got hurt on either side related to this beef yet. Let's hope it continues that way. Same thing happened with Pusha T and Drake. Not Like Us might be, if it keeps up like this, it might be the biggest diss record ever, bigger than Back to Back. Because I could see people still listening to the song. And it's such a disrespectful record. Like, oh my goodness. That's another angle to this that I wouldn't say isn't talked about enough, but the level of which it's dismantling Drake and throwing wild accusations at him, and for it to be a hit is scary. So I think this will help Kendrick Lamar more than anyone else. I think this completely changes how people look at Kendrick Lamar, including me. Before this, I was even saying, I was like, Kendrick Lamar is not really tested. Sure, we know he's a great rapper, but can he handle Drake, who's been going at it with a bunch of different people over the past, 8 to 10 years? And he came out on top, and he back-to-backed it. And there are other circumstances that Drake ran into that perhaps keep him silent right now. But I think if Drake drops a track right now, do a lot of people even care? Have people wrote it off yet? Of course, I'm going to listen. Obviously, I'm going to keep an open mind. But the intensity and the hype that was surrounding the beef and tracks being dropped, you would have to drop a monstrous nuke to even put a dent into Not Like Us. Or drop some new information about Kendrick, which I don't really like that beef is kind of about that. Because Not Like Us really isn't new information, but it's the hottest and biggest track of the whole beef. So what are we doing here? But let me know what y'all think about this in the comments. Do you see any similarities between this and Meek Mill? Be honest. Be honest here. And maybe not to Meek Mill, but do you see this track having that back-to-back feel where people are chanting Drake hate lyrics, quote unquote, without even really knowing that they're hating on Drake? Like, they're just having fun and they're chanting it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you for watching. Peace.